Okay, so this is identity critiquing, and I want to discuss the discourse around light skinned people or ambiguous looking people being black. And I agree that they are not black. Now, I didn't use the term mix because the majority of black identified US Americans are mixed. We average about 20% European associated DNA, which is why you'll get this various phenotypes and appearances in one family. So if mixed people aren't black, then the majority of black identified U.S. Americans are not black. Basically, I think people are really talking about caste because that's what race is. There's no scientific basis for race. It's always been an appearance based caste system. Now, and this caste system has it basically has there's coded appearances within this caste system. And if a person doesn't pass as that appearance, they're not black, right? This is very similar to how a skinny person will say, I'm fat, and people will side eye that person, particularly a fat person. Why is a fat person side eyeing this skinny person that's like, I'm fat? Because that person is thinking, if you're fat, then what am I? And the reason they're thinking that is because they're saying, you they don't have a fat experience. That fat person knows that they have fat experiences, the bias, the discrimination, the challenges, right? So it's basically the same concept. When a ambiguous cast, brown cast, light skinned person is like, I'm black. That skinny person saying that they're fat is minimizing, diminishing, negating the experience of what that actual fat person goes through. That's the same thing that happens when light skinned people, ambiguous cast, brown cast people say that they're black. You're negating, diminishing, and minimizing what actual black cast people experience. Now, that's not to negate any of the casteism, the bias, the discrimination, the challenges that we go through. Um, it's not, but it's just not this. It's not a black experience. Even when in my case, there's even been instances where people call me black, use the term black, and then proceed to discriminate against me. Yes, that's an instance of a black experience, but it's just an instance. Overall, my experiencing navigating life is not a black experience, so I'm not going to claim that I'm black. I have too many experiences where I know that a black cast person would have a different experience. I have been in neighborhoods where I know if I was darker, would have been stopped by a cop. I've had access to spaces and opportunities that a darker skinned person wouldn't have. So even though there's instances of discrimination of a black experiences, overall I do not have a black experience, so not gonna identify as black. And even when it's not specifically clear that it was because they identified me as black or associated me with black, it's it's closer to a brown experience, which why I more identify with either ambiguous cast or brown cast, because there's South Asians that identify as brown, and there's like Latino mestizos that identify as brown. So I just consider it a caste status. Like I do experience discrimination and all sorts of things, but it's more as I have more of a brown experience. There's some fluidity in there where, but that where it sometimes leans more towards the black cast experience. But again, overall, I do not have a black experience. And then me saying that, that does not negate my or any other brown cast or ambiguous cast person's uh, cultural heritage, right? Culture, caste, and DNA are three different things. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they correlate with each other, but they're three distinct things. I'm brown cast, I'm ambiguous cast, but that doesn't erase my cultural heritage. I'm US Creole, right? Some people identify that as with African American. That doesn't negate that. I think some people take it as that, like you're gatekeeping me, blocking me from embracing my heritage, expressing my culture, expressing myself. I don't believe that's an intention from most people. They're saying you don't have a black cast experience. You don't have that social experience, which I agree with. So that's my take on this whole if light skinned people, ambiguous looking people are black. No, we're not black. That doesn't negate or diminish our challenging experiences, and that doesn't diminish or negate our cultural heritage. We just do not have a black experience.